Today, something unbelievably special. For MSPs looking to find new clients, this is the Holy Grail. It's taken nearly 18 months to arrange this, but boy, is it going to be worth it. It's a conversation with an ordinary business owner, the type of person who might be your dream client. It's the number one wish I hear. I'm the owner of an awesome MSP, but it's so hard to get new clients. If only I could get in their head to find out what I could do to attract them, especially if they're currently with another MSP who they're thinking of leaving. Well, here we go. Now, I've agreed to keep his identity anonymous so he can be extremely open with answers to questions like why he's unhappy with his current MSP, what's changed in the last few years, what he likes and dislikes about them, and why he's thinking of switching. Oh, and most importantly, what could you offer him that would win him and keep him in your business? Hello and welcome to this very special episode of the podcast, and I have a treat for you today. This is an idea I've been trying to implement for years and years because I think it's really going to help you get an insight into what happens in the head and the heart of an ordinary business owner when they're maybe thinking of switching MSPs. We're going to interview today someone who's been a friend of mine for over 25 years, but his identity is going to be kept a complete secret. In fact, I've given him a false name. I'll introduce you to him in a second. He is with an MSP right now that was acquired sometime in the past, and as I've been talking to him over the last few months, I've realized his satisfaction levels with his incumbent MSP have been going down and down and down. They've done nothing wrong. It's all just tiny little things that have chipped away. And he's now getting to that point where he might be ready to switch MSPs. Let's see if today we can figure out how he thinks, how he feels about his MSP, and what are the things that he would go looking for from another MSP. If you can understand how ordinary people think and act, the chances of you getting them to come to your MSP goes up dramatically. So let me introduce you to my friend, and we're going to call him Jason. His real name is Sean, but we're not going to use that. We're going to call him Jason. That's not his real name. That was just a joke. Jason, thank you so much for jumping onto the call. Obviously, we don't want to identify you because we don't want any awkward conversations between you and your incumbent MSP. So without revealing what you do as a business or where you're based, just give us an idea of your company. So how many staff have you got? Are you like a professional services company or a consumer-driven company? Give us a bit of an overview. Okay, so you're spread around the globe, even if that's just two locations, which is a pretty common setup these days, I think, for many businesses. And let's go back, because obviously this is your business. You started this, you've grown this over a number of years. If you go back in your mind to when you first started to take on professional help, so before we talk about the sort of the switching and the dissatisfaction you might have now, let's talk about why you picked an IT company back in the first place. So when was the point you first realized, oh, I can't do all of this computer stuff myself? Got it. Got it. So essentially, you were in the MSP space, Jason. We call. I nearly said your real name. Then we call this. We call that break fix. How you started. So you started with someone who just helped you out a bit when you ran into a problem, and then you should say about 8-9 years ago, you met someone at networking, and you got into a more formal relationship. And did you sign a contract? So were you paying them money on a regular basis? Got it. So you were happy to invest the money into someone else fixing those problems so that you could focus on what you wanted to do and not your your staff complaining about slow computers or this doesn't work. Yeah, absolutely. So the MSP that you were with got acquired, and again, we don't want names or anything like that, but I want the MSPs that are listening to this to understand how ordinary business owners feel when their MSP is acquired. Because I always think that's a great time to go looking for or to go and try and pick up clients from that MSP. So if you've got a competitor in town that's been sold to a super MSP, I think that's a great time to go and talk to clients because of the levels of dissatisfaction that Jason is going to be talking about. So how long ago did this acquisition happen, and how did you feel about it when it first happened? Got it. That makes sense. And just one follow up question on the contracts. So I think we can all look at the MSP that was selling and very quickly was scrambling to get his paperwork in place to sell that business. Had that been done perhaps 12 months earlier with less rush, with less incentives, so a case of actually, Jason, we're formalising all of our client agreements. Here's an agreement. Take your time to read it, and but we would like you to sign this because it protects you and us. And this is a bit of a leading question, but do you think that would have been a more palatable thing for you to swallow than that sudden rush for you to sign the contract? Yeah, that makes perfect sense. There's two things to unpack from that then, I think, for MSPs listening. Number one is, as at the point you think, I might sell my business, that's the point to get your clients onto contract, not as you're actually going through the sales process. Because it takes a year, 18 months to go from thinking about selling a business to actually signing on the dotted line. So yeah, the slower you can make that for your clients, the better. Obviously, you don't want to give away what's happening. The second thing for you, Jason, is you have no idea how difficult Microsoft makes 365 licensing for MSPs. Believe me, there's a whole. It's just one of the most difficult things, which should be quite simple, but all to do with that 12-month licensing. But never mind. There we go. So you're with this MSP. They get sold to someone else. Initially, you don't see anything that's changed because you're still dealing with the same people and the same office that you were dealing with before. But slowly, things start to change as they integrate, as you call it, the master MSP integrates the new acquisition in. So what kind of changes did you see? And this is where I'm really interested in you as the end decision maker. So if we remember why you hired these people in the first place, you hired them so that they can concentrate on the technology and you can concentrate on the business, which is the perfect relationship. But you must have noticed things changing over time. So tell us what kind of stuff changed and how it impacted you. So the reason we're having this conversation now is because let me turn this into a question. Is the reason we're having this conversation now because your level of dissatisfaction has reached a point that you are thinking, do I want to stay with these people or do I want to move somewhere else? and you said earlier that you're not actively looking, but if you met the right person, and you also talked about something we call inertia loyalty, which we've talked about a lot on this podcast, which is exactly as you said, Jason, that people, it feels easier to stay with someone you're with than it does to move to someone new. So the often, people don't buy until they're ready to buy. And today you're too busy doing other things in the business. But if you went to a networking meeting, or you had an email or a LinkedIn conversation with someone tomorrow, and you could see that, oh, actually, this is a different kind of IT company, they're going to approach things a bit differently. There's less bureaucracy. I haven't got to talk to a salesperson. We can just pick up the phone. We can have a 2-minute conversation, and we can just make things happen. And I think we can all see, based on what you've just said, how that may put it in your mind. Do you know what? Maybe I will switch. So essentially, your MSP now is slowing you down, or that's the unintended consequence, that something new you wanted to do. You're clearly a fast mover, because no MSP wants 24 hours notice to set up a new user, but that's not, as the end client, you don't really care about that. I guess you just want to get that thing done. Let me ask you an open question. If your incumbent MSP that you're working with right now, if they could do anything to address your dissatisfaction and make you feel more valued, and make you feel, actually, I do like these guys and I do want to stick with them, what could they do? That makes perfect sense. So they just make your life easy, essentially, and I guess there are different types of people that like different things. So you want that, so you can move at speed. But then another client might want the control of, I want to sign off every single new license. And I guess that MSP's got to try and be flexible to your needs, but also to document them, so that they're not constantly asking you again and again the same questions. Let me flip that same question around and ask it of, if you met a new MSP tomorrow, what kind of things would they say or do that would make you sit up and think, I really need to talk to these people. I really need to pay some attention to these people? Interesting. I say interesting because the vast majority, like 99.9% of the work, is all done remotely by everyone now. What, apart from hardware repairs, what other benefits do you perceive there would be from having a company that's local to you, that could physically come into your office, even if they don't? Yeah, and which actually leads on to what is probably going to be one of my final questions, which is looking at your business strategically. So one of the things that I recommend to the MSPs that I work with is that they move their relationship to a strategic relationship as quickly as possible. So in terms of sort of layman's terms, a non-strategic relationship is where the guy's underneath your desk plugging a cable into your computer, and you can see a bit of his butt crack. It's not pleasant. No one wants to see that. The complete opposite of that is a strategic relationship where the owner of the business, or the relationship manager, or whoever it is talking to you about your business and your goals and what your growth plans are and what the big picture is for your business. And then they can give you a technology strategy, or they can give you good advice. So have you ever had that kind of relationship with either with the first MSP that sold out, or with the MSP that you have now? Yeah, I completely agree with that. And that's fascinating to hear an ordinary business owner say that. So, Jason, thank you so much. You've been very kind with your time, talking about your experiences, what it's like to be a real business owner stuck in this situation. It sounds like the MSP that's got you could actually rescue you quite easily, with a little bit of strategic work and some better account management, which is really interesting. Now, one thing you're not going to be aware of is thousands of MSPs listen to this podcast all over the world. So I'm going to get like 1,000 emails now from people who want an introduction to you. Do you want me to forward those emails on to you? That was supposed to be a joke, by the way. But I could just forward those emails on anyway. Jason, thank you so much for your time today.
Paul Green's MSP Marketing Edge.